Ryan Reynolds in big trouble with his statement. Today is the day Blake Lively is going to be deposed. So this is amazing evidence. She's contradicting herself when she said that Baldoni was a danger and he needs to be exposed. She never believed that.
Blake Lively has now entered full-blown panic mode after her husband, Ryan Reynolds, couldn't stay quiet and practically revealed all of her private matters for no reason. Meanwhile, she's rushing around trying to manage the damage, while Ryan acts as if Disney executives never put his career at risk.
It wasn't that bad and she never wanted to go public with it. What made her go public with it? Well, she's saying that it was because of the smear campaign.
Honestly, this whole situation looks far more fragile than their carefully maintained power couple image suggested. Ryan Reynolds thought he was defending his wife. In reality, he only made the controversy worse. When Reynolds publicly labeled Justin Baldoni a predator, many assumed he had clear proof. Now, that claim is coming back to haunt them both in a major way.
It was much worse than the actually alleged SH. Well, Megan Thuy was saying that Blake Lively had told her.
The problem is, Blake Lively herself had previously said the situation wasn't that serious. In a private conversation with New York Times journalist Megan Thuy, Blake admitted that her conflict with Baldoni wasn't even the worst challenge she had faced in Hollywood.
Blake Lively herself said that this wasn't really bad. And that put Ryan Reynolds in big trouble with his statement, something that I didn't think about.
But when Ryan Reynolds stepped in, he painted Baldoni as a dangerous threat. That wasn't just careless, it directly contradicted what Blake had privately said, and everyone noticed the inconsistency.
There's information coming to her, straight to her, from Blake Lively.
The issue in private while Ryan publicly attacked Baldoni's reputation. That one contradiction shifted the spotlight right back onto them.
And he said that he could say that because it was freedom of speech and he believed him to be a predator. Okay. How could he have believed that he was a predator when Blake Lively was saying that this was—
Instead of stopping the scandal, Ryan's over-the-top statements only fueled more doubts about what's really going on behind their picture-perfect public image.
Reynolds acted with reckless disregard of the truth. He intentionally exaggerated Blake Lively's experience because, of course, he knew that Justin Baldoni wasn't a—
But it didn't stop there. Behind Hollywood's polished surface, Blake Lively had already been quietly working her own strategy. While the public thought she was handling things discreetly, insiders saw something very different, a calculated effort to ruin Justin Baldoni's credibility before he could respond. This wasn't just gossip. Dr. Romani, a psychologist who studies narcissistic behavior, said Blake's actions fit the textbook signs of a targeted character attack.
Statement here in this interview, Justin Baldoni could actually prove.
First, she went after his inner circle, cast members, studio insiders, even reporters, turning them against Baldoni. She built the narrative that he was unsafe and toxic, making people distance themselves from him, all before any legal action was taken. She even used his own admissions against him. Baldoni had publicly said he wasn't perfect, that he had made mistakes, and that he was learning how to support women better. Instead of seeing that as growth, Blake twisted his words to make it look like he was a repeat offender.
This is amazing evidence. It's so interesting to me how this came up after the case was dismissed.
The cracks in Blake Lively's story grew even wider when Megan Thuy's interview resurfaced. Thuy, the same New York Times journalist who first highlighted Blake's claims against Baldoni, unintentionally revealed the full picture in a December 2024 interview. She disclosed that Blake herself had downplayed the incident that later became the focus of her legal case.
Blake Lively said that she had experienced much worse in Hollywood than what actually happened on.
Megan Thuy made one thing very clear. Blake had highlighted an important point. The events on set weren't the worst she had experienced in Hollywood. In her own words, Blake told Megan, "This was actually not the worst that I have experienced in Hollywood. I've actually experienced far worse misconduct." That statement immediately sparked a wave of questions.
It wasn't really that bad. What was bad was came after the smear campaign that she thinks that I was a part of, and a lot of people, all of you creators out there were part of this smear campaign against her. and of course a lot of bots.
If this wasn't the worst, then why did Blake choose this incident to file her first public harassment lawsuit? Why single out Justin Baldoni so aggressively while ignoring the even more serious situations she had faced earlier?
I think if she would withdraw her case today, she would look like a coward and
The inconsistencies didn't stop there. Meghan's interview also revealed that, according to Blake, the initial situation was actually handled pretty effectively. Blake set her conditions, demanded specific behavioral adjustments, and Baldoni agreed. This wasn't just a verbal understanding, he signed a 17-point contract outlining exactly how he was expected to behave going forward. On the surface, everything seemed stable. Blake returned to set, production continued, and outwardly, nothing appeared amiss.
Asked Baldoni to sign this agreement of 17 points. That was 30 points of that he should not stop behaving like the way he did and blah, blah, blah. She said that Baldoni's behavior improved with these new protections.
But underneath, that 17-point agreement revealed the level of control Blake had behind the scenes. The public only saw the polished victim narrative, staged interviews, selective media coverage, emotionally charged sound bites. Nobody saw how Blake used her influence to force Baldoni into compliance. He wasn't given a real choice. If he resisted, the project could collapse, leaving Blake free to walk away while Baldoni's reputation suffered even more.
Lively approached Justin Baldoni and said that he'd need to stop behaving this way. He did stop behaving the way that she was accusing him of behaving, which we now know that he didn't really do, and he only signed these points because he wanted to get back to work.
What's even more striking is that all of this happened months before the formal lawsuit was filed. Blake knew Baldoni had signed the agreement under pressure, yet she made it public anyway, building a legal case designed to further damage him. This sequence alone undermines the credibility of her supposed helpless victim story. It wasn't about vulnerability, it was a calculated strategy, plain and simple.
Ryan Reynolds came out and called Justin Baldoni a predator. He put this word in front of it.
Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds, cast as the protective husband, appeared in public with bold statements that, in hindsight, seemed dangerously reckless.
Called him that out in public, and he admitted that he had called him that in his motion to dismiss against Justin Baldoni.
Reynolds publicly labeled Baldoni a predator, waving the accusation as if defending Blake's honor. But once Meghan Tour's interview resurfaced, his defense looked less like genuine concern and more like a publicity stunt. How could a husband accuse someone of being a predator when his wife privately told a journalist that the incident wasn't even that serious? The contradictions didn't just confuse the public, they exposed how messy and inconsistent the situation really was. Meghan's December 2024 interview made the inconsistencies impossible to ignore. On one hand, Blake minimized the incident when speaking to trusted media outlets. On the other, her legal team, with Reynolds' support, presented it as catastrophic and traumatizing. The 17-point contract added more doubt. Sources confirmed this wasn't a casual workplace agreement. It was a formal list Baldoni had to accept to keep working, signed under extreme pressure with Blake holding all the power. It was essentially blackmail disguised as workplace protection. Behind the scenes, Blake projected control and empowerment. In public, she presented vulnerability, fear, and outrage. The two sides of her persona, the one manipulating set dynamics with legal documents, and the one crying victim on magazine covers, couldn't survive scrutiny. Meghan's revelations forced that scrutiny into the open. Blake's own words showed the gaps. The inconsistencies were undeniable. Blake's admission of far worse misconduct in her past destroyed the urgency and severity her legal claims suggested. It became evident this wasn't about justice or healing. It was about control, narrative management, and image preservation. The public began to connect the dots. If Blake could downplay the incident to Meghan while privately using legal tools to silence Baldoni, what else was being exaggerated or hidden? Reynolds' aggressive defense only made matters worse. Every statement he made drew attention back to Blake, challenging the foundation of her claims. The fallout went beyond tabloid gossip. It directly affected Baldoni's career, tracing back to the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere in July 2024, when Reynolds allegedly pulled strings behind the scenes to undermine Baldoni's professional future.
Baldoni, this statement is what made WME, his management company,
17. According to multiple sources, Reynolds went straight to executives at WME. one of Hollywood's top talent agencies, and labeled Baldoni a predator. This wasn't a private comment or casual remark. Reynolds made sure the message reached the right people loud and clear.